Peace, HHDG. We are on another episode of HHDG Media podcast. Shout out to our entire HHDG Media crew that makes it possible every week. Rock Vader KB, The Mayor, T. Smith, Skelly Top, and myself, Wiki. And before we get into tonight's guest, got to shout out as always the Facebook group as well, HHDG, HipHop Discussion Group. Hope y'all are tuning in tonight. And shout out to everyone else out in the world who's tuning in on YouTube right now. And as always, you can check out our website that you can see at the bottom, hhdgmedia.com. We have some merch out there. Some hoodies out for this cold weather right now. Got some tees coming up for the summertime, as well as some other things. As always, on our website, we also promote music. Check out some of the latest stuff that's out, as well as our HHDG Media Best of 2K21 mixtape. Now, speaking on our guest for tonight, he has a wide range of sounds that he's capable of showing the world. He's worked with a lot of well-known artists, and they've been showcased on not just one of his albums, but two of them so far, and continues to get his name out there. He's worked with a lot of local artists as well, which, you know, for a producer that got his name out there with well-known artists, to be able to still work with a local artist, you know, it's always a beautiful thing, because that puts you onto people that you might not have heard of. And like I was saying, with his sound, it can't be put in a box. And we'll dig into that, you know, how he came to be with that type of sound. We're also going to speak on his engineering skills. He's worked with two notable people out of the Massachusetts area that we're going to get into later on, that they're also quite talented in production. So without further ado, we have B-Leafs coming out of Boston.
Peace. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Definitely. So how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Just got off work and just chilling, man.
Definitely. I see you got the Masterpiece Recordings merch on it.
Yeah, we got a little limited edition, a few shirts printed up. So yeah, no, it's been cool. If anybody wants any, DM me. I got a few available, so let me know.
There you go. Nice. Now, did you grow up your entire life in the Boston area?
Yeah, so I'm from the North Shore, so like 20 minutes north of Boston. Grown up here, yeah, forever. Been in Danvers, Mass, up on the North Shore, and yeah, I go to Boston a lot. I had a lot of friends that went to school in Boston, so I mean, we were always down there going to concerts, going to like local shows and everything. So that kind of got me like into the scene, meeting different cats, and it's been a pleasure. Yeah, I mean, got to meet a lot of people that I never would have met before, and you know, I think, you know, it kind of slowly like sprouted, you know, reaching out and working with, you know, bigger cats and stuff like that. But yeah, Boston's got a great scene, man. It's very slept on, but it's a lot of dope artists out here. Definitely,
and being that you've actually showcased some of them, you know, I'm sure you let the world know about that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they used to have open mics in Boston a lot, so we used to go to those and just network, and they had some producer showcases, and so that was always fun, meeting new producers from the area and kind of, you know, seeing who they work with and just kind of, you know, networking and everything.
Great.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, when you growing up listening to music before hip hop, what else were you listening to growing up?
To be honest, man, it was mostly always hip hop.
Okay.
I mean, just back then it was like, you know, 50 Cent, Eminem, like Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, like kind of more like, you know, well-known stuff. But then as I started to listen to them more, I'd find out about Nas and then Illmatic and you know, Tribe Called Quest and all these different like more underground cats. And then once once that happened, it was like, wow, I just got like fascinated with the beats. I mean, the lyrics were always dope, but when you're younger, you don't always like fully, appreciate it and take it in. But something about like the production, especially like Ninth Wonder, Alchemist, like Cool Kids, like there was just something about the beats that just drew me in, and I was always like, how do they do that? And then when I learned about sampling later on, I was like, oh, okay. So from there, yeah, I just became curious. I used to just chop up old samples off of vinyl. We had like a little used bookstore, and they had like you could take vinyl for $5 like once a week. So I used to just go there, grab a bunch of random old stuff, and just chop it up.
Nice. What did you think about the halftime show at the Super Bowl?
I loved it. I thought it was great. It was I think that whole like structure too with the rooms and everything, and like the pictures in the background and everything, like definitely well thought of. I thought Kendrick's choreography was great too. And I think, did Jay-Z do that? Is that what they were saying? Jay-Z, like, did he, or was it Dre who orchestrated the whole thing? Somebody said Jay-Z, somebody said Dre. I don't know who it was, but
I think Dre, pretty much did everything, because I just found out today that he actually paid for that Super Bowl spot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like over $7 million or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
But as far as Jay-Z, he's like a coordinator for the NFL when it comes to the music. So
okay.
He definitely has some hand in that.
Okay, yeah. No, that was dope, man. I definitely it was better than what we usually get, It's like I usually see hip hop at the Super Bowl halftime, but I mean I loved it. It's great to see.
Yeah, everything was, well executed too.
Yep. 1000%.
Yeah. What was your best part about it?
Oh man, that's a good question. Just seeing Dre and Snoop together, honestly, that was my favorite thing. I mean, hopefully we can get some more Dre and Snoop music at some point, but yeah, just seeing them back together, that was a beautiful sight, man, honestly. They look good too. They look like they're still happy and enjoying life and everything. And I mean, Snoop's always, living it up, but it was good to see. I was hoping maybe Ice Cube or somebody else was going to come up too, but I
think a lot of people was expecting like a quick NWA song.
Yeah,
for them to come out.
Yep. Yeah. But hey, it was good. I can't complain. We got surprised with 50 Cent, which was cool. It was interesting. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Hopefully there's hip hop next year too. We'll see what happens. I don't know, but that'd be dope.
Yeah. If it did mess up, they would have been all over this.
True. 1000%, man.
But the fact that everything was executed, there's really nothing bad to say.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Once again, hip hop wins.
Always.
And shout out to Snoop, because between the Super Bowl and then on Friday he released his new album on the label Death Row Records that he now owns. So he's on the street, man.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even realize he released it on that, because I thought I heard at some point that he bought it, but I didn't realize that was on it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Damn. It's gonna resurrect it. That's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Definitely some good. More positive news for hip hop. That's all. That's what really matters, because we're always gonna get put down for something. They're gonna try and find something. Well, this whole weekend was great to me.
Oh, 1000%.
Now, you were talking about when you first started producing, getting records and chopping samples.
Yep.
Ninth Wonder is one of your influences.
Favorite producer, yeah.
Tell us, about that. Tell us like one of the first maybe Ninth tracks. Was it like a Little Brother track, or something from the Justice League you might have heard?
The funniest thing was, it wasn't like I didn't even know any of his like songs that he produced. I just would go on YouTube and I heard the instrumentals, and I happened to just stumble upon like a Ninth Wonder like almost like a collaboration beat tape where someone just put together like all their favorite Ninth Wonder beats, and I was like, every one, I was like, this is so different. I've never heard anything like him. Like, I mean, you know, Premier was dope, and I heard a bunch of his beats, and, you know, Q-Tip, but something about Nine's beats, like nobody sounded like him. The way he chopped the soul like samples into like small pieces and just completely reorganized it, it blew my mind. And I just like, I would even listen to, you know, like the samples that he sampled, and I'd be like, damn, it's like almost not even recognizable sometimes. Like he really freaked it. And yeah, so that was one of the things, that was one of the people that really like made me want to start experimenting and be like, damn, like maybe I could do that one day, kind of a thing, you know. And yeah, man, still one of my favorites.
Now, you still using the same equipment you started with, like you using your MacBook and the M Audio keyboard and everything?
Still using the same thing. Yep, I got the I mean, I don't always chop vinyl now. I mean, I just think everything's kind of digital now, so I tend to just find stuff on YouTube and download it and chop it up that way. I mean, there's always a little bit of a better sound when it's on vinyl, but it's just kind of the workflow. It's a little easier just to, you know, go right off YouTube. It's kind of lazy too, I guess, but it's just been easier. So yeah, I just go right off YouTube. Or a lot of people making samples nowadays. I'll buy like sample packs and chop those up. Yeah, that's kind of been what I've been on recently. But yeah, nothing like vinyl. But at the end of the day, you know, it's like sometimes you get a little lazy.
Definitely. Now, what was your first project? Was that the interludes?
I mean, I dropped some beat tapes. I think the first beat tape I dropped, I actually called The Horizon. So I dropped that on SoundCloud. People loved it. People were like, yo, send me those beats. Like, I want to rap over them and everything. I was like, word. So, but then when I was thinking of a name for the first actual album that I dropped, I always kept coming back to The Horizon. I just love that. Just that thought of, you know, everything's out in front of you and with the beautiful like sunset and everything. And I was like, damn, that could be a dope name. And then I was out in California and I was taking a bunch of pictures. I actually took the picture for the album cover on that. And then once I like edited it afterwards, I go, oh my God, that's the perfect album cover. That's going to be my album cover. And then I was like, what am I going to call it? And I thought, wait, it's The Horizon. I've always loved that name. Why don't I just call it The Horizon? So I just did that, and that's how that album started. And I had a few tracks made already, but yeah, it was kind of a compilation. I didn't really have anything in mind for that album, and I just kind of started to work with as many people as I could. And you know, I hit up some legendary cats. Didn't think I had a chance, and somehow it worked out in the end.
Like they say, what, you know, give it a try, right? You never know.
You never know. That's the thing. And, you know, I think another thing with a lot of producers too is everybody chases the placement. Everybody wants to send their beats out. But you got to think about it. If an artist has an album with 15 tracks, half the tracks he's already probably given to people that he knows and has worked with before. What are the chances that you're going to get a placement? It's just so hard. So, you know, I think if you want to, you know, be a producer that people are going to see, you got to take it into your own hands, and you got to get people on your tracks and release it on your own. And that's something that, you know, Static Selecta was a big influence for me. That, I mean, he was always doing that, putting people on his own album, and I think that's the way to go.
Yep. Definitely help you get on a map, you know, when people see who you work with.
Exactly.
And for the album The Horizon, I mean, you had a wide array of artists, you know, from local, like I was saying in the beginning, to some well-known artists from the past. I mean, you had Raekwon on there, Planet Asia. Then you had local artists like Michael Christmas on there. You know, how did you have a mindset that you wanted that type of balance between the two?
Yeah, I think, you know, that's super critical, because I just feel like it's dope to, you know, work with the bigger cats and kind of get your name out there. But it's like, if you're not putting people on, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like there's so many people out here that are incredible that maybe never had the opportunity to get on a track with somebody like that. But I was thought like, man, if I could facilitate that, you know, it would be special. And I feel like there's a lot of cats out here that just deserve that shot. And it was dope to help people kind of get a little exposure, even if it was nothing, you know, didn't get a ton of views or anything. It's just like, hey, I mean, just to help people out and give them a look, you know. I mean, I think that's very important. We need to see more of that, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of artists make it and they don't give a shit about anybody anymore. It's like they're just trying to make that next big hit and, you know, focus on their album. It's like, but you gotta help put people on, man.
Yeah, definitely. And you had one of my favorites from your area, from Tragic Allies, Paranorm.
Yo, Paranorm is incredible, man. One of the illest rappers I've ever heard. That whole group, I mean, they're like superheroes, bro. Paranorm, ST Knack, Davino, Code 9. Code 9's one of my favorite rappers ever, man. Like that group is crazy, bro. Very, very blessed to have worked with all of them, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
And when you did these tracks, were any of the artists did you do in person, like people that were local, or did anybody come, you know, to you?
Very few. It was mostly sending beats out and people sending verses back. A few local ones like Lotus Taylor, that's a good friend. So we've been in the studio quite a few times. Suriel from Lynn, another cat that I love working with, super great dude. So we both been in the studio a few times. And then M Dot, that's the homie. I got M Dot on a few tracks. We linked up at John Glass's studio. Shout out John Glass.
Definitely.
Producer. So we linked up a few times there. I'm trying to think who else. Tim Nyan, another local cat. But yeah, I would say most of it was just sending verses out or sending beats out and, you know, getting verses back like that. And then my go-to engineer, Lightfoot, crushes it, man. He's incredible. He's done the vast majority of both albums. He's incredible, man. I can't hear you.
No, I was saying, sorry
Okay.
about that. I was saying,
Okay.
yeah, I'm a big fan of his work as well. I actually have a few of his work on cassettes.
Oh, Lightfoot?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, his beats are wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see him on Instagram like every day, making like new little beat videos, and I'm just like, damn, this dude is grooving. Like he's always cooking up something fire.
Definitely. And you mentioned John Glass, you know, so like the three of you all do engineering work. Do you ever were you trained, or is this something that you picked up and learned on your own?
No, yeah. See, I don't do like a ton of engineering work. Like I'm more on the production side, but I do like, I mean, I engineer the instrumentals. So I feel like when I send the beats out, they're already pretty good to go. And then like John or Lightfoot or whoever engineers it kind of puts like little touches on it to kind of crisp it up a little bit. But yeah, I just kind of learned on my own, just experimenting really. Like, I mean, I can remember using Logic in like, you know, high school, like 12 years ago, just like didn't really know what I was doing, but I was always just super interested, like turning all the knobs and being like, oh, how does this make this sound? And what does that do? And just messing around. And then eventually, like, you know, you might watch a quick YouTube tutorial and it kind of tells you, hey, this is what this does and that's what that does. And then, so it was a little bit of watching YouTube tutorials but mostly just kind of messing around and experimenting. And over time, it's good because you can kind of just visualize like what you're actually doing and then kind of process it. So yeah, it's a lot of just messing around.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And let's talk about, since we're talking about the engineering, let's talk about Masterpiece Recordings.
Yeah. So, you know, that's the brand. I've always wanted to do like kind of like a clever play on words, but I never really knew like what. And then I kind of started like a little clothing brand called Masterpiece, like before I even thought of it as a record label. And I really like that play on words, just trying to bring, peace and like positivity to the music and everything.
Mhm.
And unfortunately with the clothing, there was like a little bit of a trademark issue. Somebody already had it trademarked, but they weren't really using it, and they weren't really like doing the same type of stuff. It was kind of for like underwear or something, or socks, and like kind of like it was just like totally different, but technically they had the trademark, so I couldn't really do anything. So I figured I'll spin it and make it the record label and still kind of be able to use that wording, except I just can't really technically like legally sell the clothes, but if anybody needs any on the low. But so I figured I would just run with that and kind of make that the record label. And I think it would be great to sign some artists to the label at some point, but really my focus was just get 2 albums out and then kind of reconvene after that. So
okay,
yeah, that was the original plan.
Now you also play the synthesizer.
A little bit.
Is
I dabble
that
in it,
Okay.
I'm not too good with chords and scales and like matching like the keys to the synth or the synth to the bass, or I'm more of like a sample chopper. I love to chop stuff up and kind of rearrange it and everything, but I dabble in the keys a little bit. Like on the intro to the Horizon, I actually played those keys and stuff, but
okay.
Mostly just kind of chopping samples. It's easier. Not too musically trained.
Mm-hmm. Now, being that your influence was Ninth Wonder, and Ninth Wonder is known for his soul samples.
Yep.
Your music has a wide array of sounds that you come with.
Yep.
So what sparked that that range that you have?
I think a big part of it was always listening to new artists and being a fan of so many different types of rap and hip hop, that it was always kind of like, oh, I love this artist. I might not make those types of beats, but let me try to make those types of beats and kind of like work on that. Certain cats have more of like a grimy underground sound, so I'm going to take the samples, pitch them down, kind of give it more of like a grimier vibe. Some artists might want to rap over some like luscious, dreamy type stuff, so I'll, get some like light keys or like something smooth and kind of maybe turn those up a little bit and on the octave and kind of go that way. And it was just always trying to, make beats for different artists. So if I did have the opportunity to work with this rapper, I could say, oh, I actually have a few beats that they might like. And you got to stay versatile, man. That's the key in this. You never know. Last thing you want is somebody to want to work with you, and you send them a batch of beats and they're like, none of those are my style. You know what I mean? So you just got to stay ready.
Understood. And when you were talking about the album The Horizon and how you were visiting California, did you have a image of the music that you wanted to put out based on that trip out there?
I mean, yeah, it was honestly kind of like almost like an awakening, or like a little bit like life-changing, because you go out there and it's just so beautiful compared to out here in Massachusetts. It's nothing crazy, man. It's just a lot of like city and stuff like that. And then you're out there and it's just so beautiful. You're taking in all the scenery. The people are nice. It just kind of like, it kind of gives you a little bit of a different outlook on everything. So I kind of went out there. I was relaxing, smoking, making beats, and I was like, yeah, this is chill. And I kind of wanted to keep the Horizon like, kind of chill, and it kind of like inspired it a little bit to a degree. And then with the photos I used for some of the artwork, I mean that kind of helped shape it as well. So I mean, it definitely had an influence on it for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And was this album take a little bit longer than the 2022 album, the Synopsis, or the reverse?
I think it did take a little bit longer, but I think part of it was planning everything for it too. So once I finished The Horizon, I was right on to the next album, like immediately, like trying to work with as many people as I could, because I knew that you never know when you're going to get the opportunity to work with somebody, and you can't wait. And I knew there were certain cats that I really liked, but I knew if I waited another 6 months to a year, they might be out of reach at that point. And I've already seen that recently. Certain people, like I can remember being a huge fan of Rome Streets. I was always trying to work with him. Then I see one day, oh, I just signed with Griselda. Now I'm like, well, there goes my chance. I can't afford that now. I mean, maybe we'll see what happens. But, it's like certain people get signed, or like they make a hit song, and then it's all of a sudden they're tough to reach now.
Yeah.
And the price goes up. So it's like, I was like, once that album was made, I knew I worked with a lot of incredible cats, but I'm like, now's not the time to, ride the wave of The Horizon. Now's the time to keep it moving. So, I think I just kept pushing, and it definitely took a little bit, less longer to crank out that next album too, especially because I had done it before too, and I already made an album. So now I knew how it worked. I kind of knew more of the back end of it too. And it was a little bit simpler of a process. Plus, it was less songs too. It was only 10 tracks on the second album. First album was 15. So that was another thing too. I think the next album will probably be 10 again. I think it's a good number. You don't want to like overload people. You want to have it to be where, somebody could sit down and listen to the album in a full, 40-minute time period. So I think like 10 tracks, maybe 12 is probably where you'll see the next few albums.
Okay. Interesting. And one more thing before we go into the new album. On The Horizon, I'm not exactly sure which track number it is, but the track The Cloth with Dark Low and Cormega, that's a dope track.
I appreciate it, man. That's one of my favorites.
Going with the story of Cormega allowed you to work with Large Professor. Tell us that story, how that link up happened.
I didn't know you knew that. But so Cormega was supposed to be on a different track, and just kind of like due to like a little bit of differences with people like on the track already, we kind of ended up having Cormega go on a different track. We thought it made sense, but Cormega was like trying to get another artist on the Reaganomics track originally, and he was like, yo, I mean, I could probably get Large Professor on this. And I was like, word? Like, damn, like, I didn't think that was doable, because, like, I mean, I love Large Professor, one of my favorites, but I don't see him do, like, quite as many features, so I just, like, I never would have thought it would have even been possible. So I just kind of, I was in shock, and he was like, yeah, let me see what I can do. I ended up getting a phone call from Pro. He's like, yo, Lise, what's up? I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, I could do this. Like, so yeah, I mean, he hooked that up, and that was so dope, man. And he crushed it. That whole track, that Reaganomics track, was just unbelievably special, man. I actually, I got Elzai on that track first, and Elzai was the one that came up with that Reaganomics theme. I just sent him a beat, and he came back with that, and I was like, oh my God. So I knew after that, like, we had to make it special. So that was like the main track on the album, and came out dope.
Yeah, definitely. And for those that don't know, that Reaganomics track is with Elzai, Razkaz, M. Dot, and Large Professor. That speaks for itself.
For real. And it was dope too, because I ended up getting Cormega on that other beat, and Cormega got Dark Low on the track for me. So he kind of threw me a couple alley-oops, So I was super thankful, man. Cormega's one of the illest dudes. Always kept it real, no matter what. Like, class act, man. Shout out Cormega, the illest. One of the most slept on MCs too, man. It's really dope to see him drop some incredible music lately. And to see him, working with Nas again too is like mind blowing, man. I've always wanted to see that happen, and that was such a beautiful moment for hip hop.
Yeah, the fans are waiting for that next album.
Oh, Yep. And I think I just heard, I'm pretty sure he's got Nas on the new album too.
Yeah.
So that should be crazy.
Mm-hmm. Dope. Tell me what comes when the name The Brain Collective is mentioned.
The Brain Collective. Yeah, that's the group with me and the homies. So that my boy Jack, shout out Jackie T. He, me and him, we were always like super interested in hip hop. We started making beats back in, maybe junior year of high school or something like that. And he just loved like freestyling, and he was always like, we got to record some tracks, man. Like he had an ill mind, and he just was like a super just hip hop head when it came to like bars. He was always like just like studying the bars, man. He would come up with like wild lines, and just he really like just came up with some crazy shit. And he was going to school at Northeastern in Roxbury, and he was living in Roxbury at the time, and he would just like run into people and be like, yo, we should work, like, because he plays the saxophone, he's a good producer, he can rap, like he's an engineer.
Wow. Nice.
He does it all. So he would always just like find people and be like, yo, I'm in this group, the Brain Collective, like come to my house, let's work. So like we'd be in Jackie T's room, and we're just like new people coming over, like, hey, I met Jack here and I play the trumpet. And then this kid would come in and be like, oh, I sing, like, and I met Jack at the bar. So it was just like, so he was always bringing people in, and that's kind of, I think, like part of where like the Brain Collective came in. It was such a collective of like all these people that he actually like met and like kind of like brought together. And we had like a core group of cats, and we put a project out, Digital Pollen, a few years back. So that was dope. And we still work, and we've still been working on various songs and putting together an album, and it's been fun. But it's tough with everybody's schedule. Everybody was like living in different spots now and everything. But we've been trying to do Zoom sessions like every week or two, and just working on new tracks and everything. So it's been great.
That's dope.
Good people, great people in that group.
And now we transition on to your 2022 album, the Synopsis. As you were saying, once the Horizon was out, you started, reaching out to artists for your next project. And you have two people on this new project that I know, I believe it's two, it might have been more, but they were also on the Horizon. That's Skyzoo and Tim Nehan.
Yep. Yeah, Skyzoo is one of my favorite rappers. Always loved Skyzoo, man. I mean, he was one of those rappers I was like downloading off LimeWire back in the day, like, like just incredible, man. Like, yeah. And then, it was dope to get him on a track with J Royale, because like he had already worked with J Royale, and then I had hit up Royale right after, I think it was right after the Skyzoo joint maybe, and I was like trying to think of something to send him, and then I heard him in Skyzoo's track, and I was like, oh, word, they already worked together, like, why don't I just send him this? And that shit turned out crazy. I mean, incredible track. And Tim Nehan actually lives like in Mass, so he's a local homie. I met him when I was like doing some Brain Collective stuff, and we used to go to this open mic at the Wonder Bar, and I think I just ran into him. He was like performing. He did like an open mic, like he did a song, and I was like, damn, this dude is crazy nice. Like, so we chopped it up and became homies, and I'm blessed to be able to work with him, and it was dope to have him on the album again. It was him, Skyzoo, my boy Jackie T. It's on both albums.
That's right, yeah.
And I believe Lotus was on both albums. Yep, Lotus Taylor. It's been dope.
What's a story from your new album that the fans might not know about? Just could be anything.
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know, but I think one thing is like it was super dope to have. I had Davino, ST Knack, and Code 9 all on, that track with M Dot.
One track. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And it was cool because like, Dot recorded that verse at John Glass's studio. And it was funny because like they both knew like all those cats that were on the track. So it was just cool to like go there and they're like, oh, I know like this dude. Like, yeah. Like John would be like, oh, I know like Davino, like, and then he would pull up a track that him and Davino recorded back in the day and be like, yeah, like he came through to my studio, and I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
Like, so that was just like kind of like small world, like that's dope that we kind of all know the same people.
Mm-hmm. That's dope.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What's one of your favorite tracks off the new album?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my favorite track is probably Out the Window with Ito and Guilty Simpson. I think
which is a pair that was unexpected.
Yep. Yeah, Guilty always been one of my favorite rappers. Like everything I hear from him is just proper, man. I never hear any laziness, any like lack of bars or anything. Like everything he spits is just mind blowing. Was always dying to work with him, and I mean that was a huge blessing. And then I've just always loved Ito, man. I don't know, something about him, man. So I thought that it would be cool, like to have two of my favorite rappers on the same track, even if maybe they might have not. I don't know if they worked together before, or even if it was like, a super great fit. Just thinking in that term, but I think they both fit very well on the beat, and I think it actually did sound like very cohesive. And we didn't all work on that track together. It was kind of I got one verse back, I sent it to the other one, they sent their verse back. So, but it worked, man. I think that was a super special track. I'm really happy to have been able to produce that one for sure.
Yeah, dope.
Yep.
Shout out to Guilty Simpson. He got a dope EP out with producer Fro. Guilty by Association.
Okay. Yeah, his joints with Apollo Brown. Incredible, man. Apollo's one of the illest ever, man. For real.
His first solo, with the Mad Lib and Dilla joints on there. Ode to the Ghetto. Still one of my favorite Guilty Simpson albums.
Yep. Damn, man. Yep. I'm trying to work with him again, so hopefully maybe on the next album, if not the one after that, I should have hopefully another guilty verse. That'd be incredible.
Dope. Now, I got a few favorite tracks, but I'm going to talk about just one of them right now. And that's Ruffian Rap with Revelation, Jamil Honesty, and Intel Selector.
Yep.
Man, that track right there, that's just straight bars on there.
Yeah, so Rev is actually great friends with M Dot. Mm-hmm. So when I was working with M Dot, he was like, yo, you got to check my homie Rev out. And I ended up listening, and I was like, oh, wow, this is dope. So I sent him that beat for that track. And he crushed it. I was like, yo, this is tight. And then I'm like, who do you think we should get on it? Like, if you got like any ideas, let me know. And he had said Jamil Honesty, and I was like, okay, word, never heard of him. Checked him out. I was like, oh my God, this dude is ill. I'm like, how have I never heard of this cat? And I was instantly like, all right, yeah, we're making that happen. Like, lock that in ASAP. And then I think, like right after that, he was like, oh, well, there's the other cat, Intel Selector, like, who I think would sound dope on this too. And then I heard a couple tracks by him, and I was like, yeah, this could be special. Like, these cats are dope. And they both came through too. I mean, like, yeah, because that's a thing. You never know, like, when you're doing, like, when you're getting a feature and you're not as well known, if people are going to give you like that full effort. And that's nothing against like any particular rappers, but it's just like, people are going to save their ill shit for their own stuff. And then sometimes for like Unheard of cats. It's like not as well put together, but they both, like, all three of them just crushed it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, thank God. Like, I love that. But I think part of it is just, you got to provide the right beat too, because sometimes, like, you might provide the wrong beat to somebody and they don't really.
They don't have that. They don't project that same energy on it.
Yeah, yep. The synergy's kind of off a little bit, and you never know. Like, so that's another thing too, man. Word for producers, like, make sure when you're working with artists, you send the right beat. It doesn't matter how dope the beat is sometimes, because it just might not be the right vibe. It could be a dope beat, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work,
Work. Yep.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Now, as far as another unexpected collaboration that I saw on here, that was the Rex and Rashid Chappelle joint, Looking Back.
Yep. Yeah, I love that track. That beat, that was one of them that I kind of like messed around and played some stuff on, and it was special. It was like one of those beats where I wasn't sure if anyone was gonna want to rap on it because it was so different, and it was almost like too like synthy and too, like, I don't know, there's something about it. I was a little worried that when I sent it out that people wouldn't want to rap on it, but I was like, if someone does this right, this could be ill. And I think they both crushed it. I sent it to Rex first. He killed it. And then I hit up Rashid and I was like, yo, man, I got this joint with Rex. And he was like, yo, Rex is like one of my favorite rappers. And I was like, oh, word, this is perfect. I had just always like imagined that they would have great energy together, and it worked out. So I'm happy with that one. Absolutely. And I think that oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that track it has a mellow emotional feel to it.
Yep. Yeah. And I thought about, getting like a chorus on it, because I think it would have been good with a chorus, but at the same time, I thought it was so like smooth that I was like, nah, I think we should just let it breathe in between and at the end and kind of just let it ride out. And I was really happy with how that one turned out.
Is there any chance that your releases are going to get physical copies?
Yeah, so I've been debating that a lot recently. I think I'm about to do like a limited CD run, maybe do like 500, maybe 1,000. Just because I think to start, it's way cheaper to print CDs, so it's not as much money up front. And then maybe if I can sell the CDs, I can put the CD money towards printing the vinyl. Because that's the thing with the vinyl, man. It's like, it's a big investment. They're not cheap.
Right. It's not cheap, and it won't be on hand as fast as the CDs.
It takes months to get there. So it's just like, I'm like, I really want to do vinyl, but I think the move is to start with the CDs, and then, at some point I'll probably do like some limited vinyl, maybe like 100. My goal was probably 1,000 CDs, 100 vinyls, and just keep it at that, just for the ones that really want it, and we'll leave it on streaming for everybody else, I guess.
Dope.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes producers end up hearing their music with an artist that they didn't even give the music to. Has that happened to you before?
Yeah, I mean, I can remember I sent beats to somebody for them to use, and then like their cousin hit me up and was like, yo, check this song that you produced. And I'm like, how the hell did you get this beat? I know I didn't send this to anybody. And he was like, oh, my cousin so-and-so. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I wasn't even mad, like I mean, it happens and stuff. I wasn't like, yo, take the song down, you know what I mean? But I'm just like, all right, man, like in the future, you gotta like hit me first and just kind of clear everything, because you never know if like I was already using that beat because the person didn't use it. I could have already had it lined up for something else. So it's like, it's more of like I gotta like know what's out there. I have a list of all my beats that are being used too. So if someone's like, hey, I like this beat, I can, double check and say, oh, that one's already reserved by so-and-so type of a thing. I just like to know. I don't like the surprises, but I would say like it doesn't really happen too often. It happened a couple times, but it is what it is. I mean, and people will like rip some of my older beats off like SoundCloud and rap over it, or like off YouTube. So I don't release a lot of instrumentals anymore. I kind of like, I was making beat tapes at one point, but now I kind of just, stack the beats up, send batches out to artists, and whoever wants to, use them can use them. But if people are like, if some random person's like, yo, can I get like a free beat or something? I'll just be like, yeah, go on my SoundCloud, go on my YouTube. You can rip whatever. I leave those for like the free beats,
Mm-hmm. Cool. Has anyone told you that you have a good talent for selecting MCs for specific tracks?
Yeah,
Because if you look at the two albums, if anyone who hasn't listened to the albums, listen to both of them unbiasedly, no matter who's on the track, and you'll understand why I asked him that question.
I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you noticed. Not everybody notices, but I noticed like, and it's like a lot of the hip hop head people too. They're like, yo, I see you like putting together some crazy tracks, man. And they're like, I never would have thought that person and that person would go together, but the way you did it, you know what I mean? So yeah, I've heard it, and I'm so humble, man. It like means the world to me, because like it's tough, man, when you're not well known and you're putting all these big artists on a track together, and you never know how people are going to take it, or if people are going to say, why'd you put them together? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's relieving to hear people say like, yeah, that was a great fit. Because that's the key, man, with the album. It's like, I want the track order to flow. I want you to like start at the top, go to the bottom, and think, damn, this album flows nice. But I also want people to realize like everything was cohesive, especially because I'm not in the studio working with people as much. It's a lot of like sending stuff back and forth. So you especially want to make sure it all, vibes well together. And so far so good. I've been lucky. So hopefully I keep the streak going on the next one.
That's great. Definitely. Now, I know there's some artists out there that you haven't worked with that I'm pretty sure that you would like to. One of them being, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, man. Nip, that's my favorite rapper right there, man. Always just, there's nobody like him. I really can't think of anybody that's even close to Nipsey, man. He was so motivational. He was always telling you, go get it on your own. Stop waiting for the handout. Build it from the ground up. And he was just a genius, man. Everything he did, bro, selling $100 mixtapes. Everyone said, you're fucking crazy, bro. What are you doing? That'll never work. And he sold them out. Then he did the $1,000 mixtape. He sold them out. Like, he knew what he was doing, because he knew that. And you're seeing that rub off on a lot of rappers now with the vinyl, because everybody's doing these limited edition vinyls, $200 first come, first serve type thing. And everyone's buying them up. It's just supply and demand, and, creating art, like physical art that is going to last. And he was always like, yo, I'll always give my music for free on streaming for whoever wants it. But the real fans are going to flock to the art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And man, Nip was just so motivational. I always wanted to work with him. And like, I thought about it for the Horizon, actually. I knew the price range. I knew it was going to break the bank. And I remember, contemplating that. There was actually a dope artist that had mentioned him as someone we should work with. And I thought, yeah, we probably should, man. Like, and that would have been a dope track. But I just thought at the time, the money was more well spent on the marketing and jumpstarting the next album. And I was like, in due time, I'll get to send some stuff to Nip. And unfortunately, God had other plans. But I mean, that would have been like bucket list right there, man. Nip's incredible. Victory Lap, I think, is one of the best albums of all time. If people haven't heard it, man, I know most people listening probably have, but if you haven't, you got to check Victory Lap, man. That shit is crazy.
And sonically, your sound, I think, would definitely fit Nipsey Hussle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his beat selection was top notch too.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the beats he picked too, that you kind of would hear the beat and you're like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna work, but he always found a way, man. I can remember Electric Feel. He rapped over that, I think, on the Marathon, and I was like, damn, he really like made that ill. Like certain beats you wouldn't expect, and he always made it crazy, man. Rest in peace, Nip, bro.
Definitely rest in peace. Yeah.
I remember doing an interview like maybe like 6 months before, and they were like, you could produce one album for any artist, who would it be? And I said Nipsey, man. Crazy.
It's possible, maybe you should, how people do their little remix projects, use his vocals, maybe do a little something like that.
Yep. That would be dope. And that's the thing with Nip too. He actually, I think it was the Marathon Continues. Yeah, it was TMC. He actually released the acapellas so people could make remixes. So there's a Beliefs Nipsey Hustle remix out there somewhere on YouTube. I threw it up there at one point. But yeah, I mean, that'd be dope. Even like a posthumous album or something, like where they had a bunch of verses and they kind of let people produce on it. That would be like beyond bucket list, Yeah.
And the name Beliefs, how did that originate?
Yeah, growing up, I was always B Mitch. That was what everybody called me. My name's Brian. That's not really the greatest. So B Mitch was what everybody called me. And, as I started producing, my first thought was, all right, just go by B Mitch. But then I was like, it needs to be B something else. Like, I need to kind of show that, like, I'm not, I've evolved, or like, I'm like, it's not, what everybody knows me as. I need to kind of like differentiate from that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of wondered, how could I like play it like a spin on that, like be something. And I just thought Beliefs worked. Because it's kind of like your beliefs. Like I've always had like, strong beliefs in life and like stuck to it. And just like leaves too, it's like nature, leaves, natural, smoking and everything too. It was just kind of like it all just blended together, It felt natural. So people ask me, oh, you ever regret it? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could have thought harder on it, but it works, There
you go. Now that you know the origin, it shows a connection with all of your artwork on your projects, from not just your albums with MCs on it, but your instrumental projects as well.
Yep.
They have a connection with nature.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've always wanted to, have all my music feel natural and, very organic and not like too, synthesized or too like computerized and everything. And yeah, just try to keep it funky and keep it organic.
And with the Synopsis, it seems like you elevated with that one. What was your what did you want the listeners to know, being that you gave it the name, the Synopsis?
Yeah, well, I mean, like the Synopsis is kind of like it's like the kind of like the overview of everything, and like the trying to think of the other word I'm thinking of here. It's like just like the summary and everything. So it's kind of like the horizon was like everything is out there and everything's in front of you, and now the Synopsis is like, here's what it is, type of a thing. I tried to make it more like the production, just I think part of it too is like the production on the Synopsis is a lot of newer beats. The horizon was a lot of beats I made when I was like, first chopping up the vinyls and kind of throwing stuff together. So I think it's more so the production as a whole is a lot more recent on the Synopsis. and it's just me, elevating and growing as a producer, and the beats just sound more polished to a degree. And, there was something special about the Horizon because it was kind of me just, feeling it out. And it was a little, in some areas in the production, it was a little bit more like dusty and a little bit like not as cleaned up, but there was beauty in that at the same time. So for the Synopsis, I tried to kind of take it to that next level and keep it proper with the beats and everything, and I think it worked out.
Definitely did. Dope. Yeah, man. So, I'm definitely looking forward to a CD version of both albums. Maybe
Absolutely.
some instrumentals. Throw some bonus instrumentals from your previous projects.
That's a good idea. I was thinking about recently maybe on the physicals doing some bonus material. So that's a good idea. I'm glad you said that. I think there's definitely going to be, physicals for the Synopsis. I know that. I don't know. The Horizon was so sample based that I kind of wonder, like, if I could custom the shoes or something. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I tried to make it a little bit less recognized on the new album. So there'll definitely be physicals for that, I can guarantee. But we'll see what happens with the Synopsis. Maybe one day, maybe like a 5-year anniversary or something. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Okay. So, and you've gained quite a bit of experience, not just with the production, but your engineering, that you have two studio albums out, but also understanding, the marketing aspect as well, with getting MCs on the album.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's a grind, trying to, make everything work out on the back end, especially where, like, you're your own manager and you got to hit everyone up and make sure everything works out and clear stuff. And it's definitely a lot of work. But there's no more rewarding feeling than releasing a track with, some of your favorite artists, man. You can't even describe it in words, really. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm pretty close to finishing the next album already, man. And the other one just came out. So I'm always in that mindset of like, keep going, keep hitting people up and putting tracks together, and always try to stay one step ahead. Every time I drop an album, I want at least half of the next album done. That's kind of like my plan. So this next one's coming along pretty well. I don't really have a theme or anything yet, but we got some good groundwork. Probably got 10 tracks that at least have a verse on it. So just got to kind of now go back and kind of complete the tracks and get more artists on each one and kind of go from there. But the groundwork is laid. The beats have been, picked out. So I'm excited.
Definitely. And you have a great foundation of people with John Glass and Lightfoot.
Yep.
Shout out to them. I mean, because when you continue to work with the same people and you have that type of synergy, it makes your projects come out so much better. So salute to you, Beliefs, and salute to John Glass and Lightfoot as well.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. And yeah, man, John Glass, incredible homie, man. One of the nicest people I've ever met. Just a super good dude. Was always opening his studio up to people to come through and record. And I mean, that was kind of like the spot around here. If you were trying to record music, it was like, that's the one studio where, like, you could chill and smoke and just have a good time. And, Lightfoot, man, unbelievable engineer, probably one of the best I've ever heard, and just a super nice dude, good cat. It's funny with Lightfoot, I'll send him a track and he'll send it back like a couple days later, like fully just spotless. I can't think of really many, if at all, any instances where I was like, hey, can you fix this? can you make this sound like that? Nah, he just knew. He had the ear, man. Every track was just first mix flawless.
Amazing.
I'm like, damn, makes my life easy.
That's
yeah,
amazing.
shout out John, shout out Lightfoot, man. Two great people.
Definitely. B-Leafs, thank you for, taking the time to speak with me and, let the world know about the Synopsis, the Horizon, instrumentals like the Reservoir. Definitely you have a discography that's worth listening to. Your sound, speaks for itself. The artist you work with speaks for itself. Continue success. And, I look forward to the next project that comes out. So as always, thank you.
1000%, man. I appreciate you so much. I'm very glad you were able to have me on here. It's a pleasure to talk about, the instrumentals and the albums and everything. And yeah, man, I'm excited for the next project. So I'll probably have an EP out this year at some point, and then the album will probably be beginning of next year. That's
Okay.
the guess.
That's great.
But we'll probably roll some singles out later in the year and go from there.
Cool.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. And as always, let the people know where they can reach out to support your music and where they can go to contact you.
Yep. So Instagram at B_Leafs, LEAFS. Twitter at BLeafsMusic. I'm on SoundCloud and every streaming service, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, whatever you use. The albums are there. And shoot me a DM if you might be interested in the Bandcamp. I'll probably have the CDs on Bandcamp once those get printed. But hit me up if you're interested in one. I can put you on the list so I can save one for anybody. And I got some Masterpiece T-shirts. If anybody wants a shirt, let me know. And yeah, appreciate everybody checking out the music.
Definitely. Cool. So, what's your favorite season? Since you're in tune with nature.
Oh man, I mean, I probably part of me wants to say fall because I love the foliage around here in New England, but the spring is just so incredible because it's like we come out of that dark period and then it's just like the sun's out. I can go out for a walk, go to the beach. Like it's like kind of like a reawakening every year of like, all right, the sun is here. So yeah, I'd say spring is probably my favorite.
Cool. All right, man.
Hey, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. On behalf of our HHDG media crew, I'm going to say peace.
Peace, y'all.